Welcome to Booktopia Lessons. Right now, I am in the midst of the city of Gdansk in Poland. Right behind me is the Neptune fountain. You know Poland has produced well-acclaimed writers. Wislawa Symborska is one of them. Today, we are going to appreciate a poem written by her, The Terrorist He is Watching.
The Terrorist He is Watching by Wislawa Symborska. This poem was originally written in Polish, and today we are going to appreciate the English translation of the poem. Who is Wislawa Symborska? She was a Polish poet and essayist born in 1923 in Poland. She began publishing poetry in the 1940s and gained widespread recognition with the publication of a collection, Calling Out to Yeti, in 1957. She was known for her wit, irony, humor, and skepticism. She was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1996. She passed away in 2012, leaving behind a legacy as one of the most important poets of the 20th century. She explored themes like the nature of time, the human condition, complexities of life, war and terrorism. She also reflected on the impact of historical events and social issues on individuals and communities. Her poetry was characterized by its depth, complexity, and nuance. As we are going to appreciate a poem under the title The Terrorist He is Watching, let's try to understand nature of terrorism and who a terrorist is. Terrorist is someone who is engaged in an act of terrorism. In the modern world, terrorism refers to the use of violence and intimidation by individuals or groups to achieve political or ideological goals. These acts can include bombings, assassinations, and other forms of violence targeted at civilians or symbolic targets. While some people may see the actions of a particular group as terrorism, others may view them as justified resistance against oppression or injustice. Terrorism has many negative aspects that can have serious and long-lasting consequences for individuals, communities, and society as a whole. Sri Lanka as a country experienced violence and bloodshed due to terrorism during its 3-decade-long war. Some parts of the world are more prone to terrorist attacks than others. Terrorism remains a serious and ongoing threat in many parts of the world. Terrorists are human beings like you and I. The facts that lead individuals to become terrorists are complex and multifaceted. They can vary from one individual to another. However, it's important to recognize that their actions, such as committing violent and harmful acts against others, are unacceptable and must be condemned. Now I'll recite the poem, The Terrorist He is Watching by Wislawa Symborska. The bomb in the bar will explode at 13:20. Now it's just 13:16. There's still time for some to go in and some to come out. The terrorist has already crossed the street. The distance keeps him out of danger. And what a view, just like the movies. A woman in a yellow jacket, she's going in. A man in dark glasses, he's coming out. Teenagers in jeans, they are talking. 13, 17 and 4 seconds. The short one, he's lucky. He's getting on a scooter. But the tall one, he's going in. 13, 17 and 40 seconds. That girl, she's walking along with the green ribbon in her hair. But then a bus suddenly pulls in front of her. 13, 18. The girl's gone. Was she that dumb? Did she go in or not? We'll see when they carry them out. 13, 19. Somehow, no one's going in. Another guy, fat, bald, is leaving though. Wait a second. Looks like he's looking for something in his pockets. And at 13, 20 minus 10 seconds, he goes back in for his crummy gloves. 13, 20 exactly. This waiting, it's taking forever. Any second now. No, not yet. Yes, now the bomb, it explodes. The poem The Terrorist He is Watching explores the anticipation of a terrorist who planted a bomb inside a bar. The poem is narrated in the third person omnipresent or omniscient point of view. Omniscient means all-seeing. Omniscient narrator can read the character's thoughts. Here, he can read the thoughts of the terrorist who is anticipating the success of his mission. The writer has used countdown technique in the poem. The countdown begins at 13, 16, and there are only 4 minutes left for the explosion. So the time is really important. Since the bomb is planted inside the bar, go in means the death and coming out means life. So here the writer has used irony because the characters or the people who go inside the bar or who come out of the bar, they are not aware of the explosion, but the readers know it, so it's dramatic irony. Now, why do you think the terrorist has selected the bar to plant his bomb? We know bar is an ideal place for his target. Bars are usually used for socializing, relaxation, and entertainment, and also to consume alcoholic beverages. In short, a bar is a popular venue for gatherings and events. Therefore, usually, a bar is a crowded place. So, the terrorists target bars as it can cause widespread fear and disrupt the normalcy of everyday life. Interestingly, here the bar can be taken as a symbol because some terrorists see a bar as a symbol for immorality or indecency. In the second stanza, the narrator observes the movements of the terrorist. The terrorist has already crossed the street. After planting the bomb, he quickly moves out of the place for his own safety. The distance between the bar and where he is settled is far enough to keep him safe from the explosion. After settling in a safe place, he is going to enjoy the view. Just like the movies. Now here it's simile. Usually we enjoy movies, whether it's a horror movie, action or thriller or romantic one, because we know that we are watching just a movie. Here in this poem, ironically, the terrorist is going to enjoy a real life bloodbath that would take place in 4 minutes' time. It gives us an insight into the mindset of a terrorist. In the third stanza, the reader can observe two streams of consciousness. One is of the narrator and the other one is of the terrorist. The terrorist observes the people who are going in and coming out of the bar. Woman in a yellow jacket, she is going in. A man in dark glasses, he is coming out. The tall one, he is going in. He does this thing while being aware of the time. He identifies people with their height and colors of the things that they are wearing. Yellow jacket, dark glasses, then short one, tall one. But here in this line, the short one, he's lucky he's getting on a scooter. This can also be the consciousness of the narrator. Now, the narrator observes everything, but he is powerless. He cannot stop the explosion. But he thinks that people who are coming out of the bar are lucky because they are going to survive the explosion. So his lucky can be the consciousness of the narrator. In the third stanza, the terrorist continues his observation and enjoys the scene outside the bar. The countdown technique repeats in this stanza as well. 13, 70 and 40 seconds. Then here 13, 18, 13, 19, 13, 20 minus 10 seconds. This technique implies the sense of urgency or immediacy, and also it helps to increase the tension in the reader's mind. Now here, that girl, she is walking along with the green ribbon. The terrorist notices only the gender, height, and colors of the things worn by people. It's maybe because he sees humans only as objects. It also suggests his lack of sensitivity as well. Now here green symbolizes the energetic youth and life as well. Both the terrorist and the observer notice the disappearance of the girl. But then a bus suddenly pulls in front of her. The girl's gone. Was it that dumb? Did she go in or not? This is definitely the consciousness of the narrator. He gets angry and frustrated as he is powerless and unable to stop the detonation of the bomb. So this line suggests the consciousness of the narrator. We'll see when they carry them out. This is obviously the consciousness of the terrorist. It suggests his indifferent attitude to humanity. He hopes to enjoy the carnage as he is eagerly waiting to observe the casualties of the explosion. Here, them means the casualties, both the victims who are killed or injured in the bomb blast. Somehow no one's going in. The terrorist becomes nervous when he could not see people around the bar. Then another guy, fat, bald, is leaving though. Wait a second, looks like he's looking for something in his pockets. And at 13:20 minus 10 seconds, he goes back in his for crummy gloves. So the man who has the luck to escape the death goes back inside the bar, and this time the narrator expresses his displeasure through the adjective crummy. Crummy means very old and worn out. Here the poet tries to suggest how even the smallest of decision can change someone's life forever, because definitely this fat bald guy is going to get killed in the explosion. The last stanza has relatively short lines. 13:20 exactly. This waiting, it's taking forever. Any second now. No, not yet. Yes, now. The bomb, it explodes. The short lines suggest the imminent danger or the explosion as well as the impatience of the terrorist. He eagerly observes the people in and around the bar for 4 long minutes, but seems unable to pass the few seconds that would lead into the explosion. His restless mind is portrayed through these short lines. The last line, the bomb, it explodes. And it's quite clear that the terrorist finally becomes successful in his mission. Now, you might have already noticed throughout the poem, the writer has used simple present tense. Now, even in the last line, the bomb, it explodes, not it exploded. I think Szymborska wants the reader to understand that the terrorism or acts of violence have become a day-to-day experience of the modern man. Now let's discuss the themes of the poem, The Terrorist He is Watching by Wislawa Symborska. As the title suggests, this poem explores the anticipation of a terrorist who planted a bomb inside a bar. Therefore, terrorism and the mindset of a terrorist is one of the major themes discussed in the poem. Another theme is fragility of life or impermanency of life. Human life is delicate and it is vulnerable to unexpected events and circumstances. We know that terrorism results in loss of innocent lives and it causes immense emotional distress to the families of the victims. Here, the people who are being observed by the terrorist are going to get killed in the explosion. Woman in yellow jacket, man in dark glasses, teenagers in jeans, the short one, the tall one, this fat bald guy. So these people come from all walks of life, but death does not discriminate anybody. The poetess brings out the value of life through this poem. Human life is so precious. So, as people, we try to get the best out of our lives, and the people in this poem are also the ones who decided to go to a bar to socialize, to entertain, and relax. So, the writer tries to hint us the fact that as we are oblivion to the death date of our life, it is wise to get the best out of our valuable human life. Another theme discussed in the poem is loss of humanity. Terrorism creates fear, division, and even destruction in the society. This undermines the very essence of what it means to be a human and to live in a civilized society. the terrorist's attitude towards his victim or victims in the poem clearly portrays the loss of humanity in the society due to terrorism or any other related acts of violence against humans. The very last theme discussed in the poem is time and its illusory nature. In the poem, the constant reference to time is a very striking feature. Time is often considered a fundamental aspect of our reality. However, time can be illusory. Time seems to pass differently for different people depending on their experiences, expectations, and emotional state. In this poem, the terrorist is so impatient and he thinks this waiting is taking forever. As he is nervous and anxious, he feels like time is dragging. But for the victims who are enjoying inside the bar would not even notice the passing of a 4-minute duration. So these are the most important themes discussed in the poem The Terrorist He is Watching by Wislawa Symborska. What are the techniques employed by the writer? The very first one is the point of view. Here she has used the third person omnipresent or omniscient point of view for her narration. Now, in this point of view, there are two streams of consciousness. One is of the terrorist and the other one is the narrator's one. What's the tone of the poem? The tone of the poem is matter-of-fact one. When straightforward, objective and unemotional style of writing is presented, we can say the tone is a matter-of-fact one. However, the lines which show the consciousness of the narrator are emotionally charged, but overall, the poem is written in a matter-of-fact. What are the techniques employed by the writer in this poem? The third person omnipresent or omniscient point of view is used in the poem. Now, in the third person omnipresent point of view, we can see two streams of consciousness. One is of the terrorist and the other one is of the observer. Another technique is the matter-of-fact tone. The writer is straightforward, objective, and unemotional. However, the lines which show the consciousness of the narrator are emotionally charged. But overall, the poem is written in a matter-of-fact tone. The other important technique is suspense. The writer has used suspense to create tension, uncertainty, and anticipation in the reader. For this purpose, the poet has used countdown effect and also the repetition of time. Then Szymborska has used present tense throughout the poem except for some instances like the bomb in the bar will. Here she has used future tense. We'll see when they carry them out, but in other examples, she has used present tense or present continuous tense. I think what she's trying to suggest here is that this act of terrorism has become a day-to-day life experiences in some parts of the world. The other technique is unrhymed free verse Throughout the poem, we cannot see any regular rhyme scheme, so it's written according to blank verse. Simple diction is another important technique. Even an average reader can read this poem and understand the message she is trying to convey through the poem. The last technique is simile. In the second stanza, "What a view, just like the movies," is a nice example for a simile. So these are the techniques employed by the writer in the poem. And that brings us to the end of today's session on Booktopia lessons. I hope you found it informative and educational. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you in the next lesson.